Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how you do it, even if you don't care. And today I'm here to show you something I've been promising to show you for some time, and I finally am able to do it. This beautiful ping pong table that I got here. It's actually a ping pong table and a pool table. I believe it's a king-size tournament grade pool table here, and we got the extra add-on ping pong table thing on it. I'd show you a little bit more, but as you can see there's a lot of this junk sitting on the table, so I really can't show you the full extent of it. And if you didn't find that funny, you can blame one of my friends. It was his joke. So yes, like I said, as I could finally present to you my Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard army in its entirety as of now. This is my 701st Adeptus Mechanicus Tank Division army for Warhammer 40k. It's 1850 points, tournament grade, except for the stuff in the back. This guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Everything else aside from those is so. Right there, that's 1,850 points of Imperial Guard right there. And so we're going to go and take a quick look at the army. First, I'm going to talk about what the strategy type of thing that I came up with when I was building this. My idea was coming up with is massive intimidation, since Guard are very squishy. By that I mean having a lot of tanks in it. Like I've got the artillery over here that would fire over the battlefield to lay down covering fire for the chimeras in the front with their troop loads, and have these guys here slowly advance up the field if they can, but staying a little bit back to thin out any upcoming troops with their autocannons. And have these three bad boys running up the middle, drawing as much fire as they can while mowing down everything in their path. So the big thing is in most games you have to sit there and go, well, there's 3 tanks right there that could wreck a good chunk of stuff, and in a game that I've seen, they do really mess up a lot of stuff in game, or run out after these troop guys. But you have two, issues here. Is, you got, if you don't catch the troops, they can get the objective markers or the table quarters. If you don't take care of the tanks, they can wipe out your troops' objective markers and such. So it kind of forces you to make a choice on which thing is the most deadly, and I try to run the army with a massive intimidation factor, using my tanks to intimidate the players into my opponent into attacking them over the troops, or vice versa. So without further ado, let's go look into this guy in detail. First off is we'll go with the HQ, which is the command squad here, led by William T. Cutter, which is right there. Right there. He's the commander, and it's also got Marcus Friedman, who's a Commissar Lord. And I used the Death Corps of Crag, command squad for this, mostly because I kind of like their look. I kind of felt like they were very tankish, so I decided to go with them. The squad's got a regiment stand, a Voxcaster, which is that guy right there, and a Master of Ordnance. I picked the Master of Ordnance because, again, since it's a tank-heavy army, I'd feel that there would be more artillery tanks off on the field firing from afar, so to give that feel like this army has a lot of tank power behind it, I kind of wanted to represent that with the Master of Ordnance. And he came from the Death Corps of Crag Artillery Crew pack. He's originally the Voxcaster, but since his pose is slightly different, and I painted his backpacks a little bit differently, he does give off this look of a different model while keeping with the theme. The Commissar Lord has a power weapon, same with Cutter, and I think I gave the Commissar Lord Carapace armor. I can't really remember. Not Carapace armor, I forget what it's called. But I'm not really quite sure. I have to look at my point list again, because he is a new addition to the army since the tournament cap increased by 100 points. And so that's my HQ choices there, and then there's my elites. And for my elites, I took a Tech Priest, because it's a tank army, would be foolish to not have a Tech Priest, with 2 Tech Servitors. And so let's see, he's just a standard model. I'm very happy with my paint job of this guy. He's probably, as I feel, probably my best paint job out there. Mostly because of just how well detailed he is. He's probably by far my best detailed model piece in the army, maybe aside from Helios, so I was very happy with the way he came out right there. And he's got 2 Tech Servitors, which I created from that 5-man pack of Imperial Guards where it was just bodies and the arms, just 2 pieces, the bodies and the guns and the arms holding the guns. And so what I did was I took heavy flamers from the super heavy tanks that I was using, and added some Battlefleet Gothic bits to it to make it look like a Power Claw, and added a magnet onto it, so if I decide later I want to, I can add weapons to them instead. And they were one of my first tries at green stuffing to a little bit more degree than just your standard, than just like filling in the gaps between models. See right there, give him a little metal skull-like face there, and ripped up tattered pants leg and such. So I was very happy with the green stuffing work that I did, but I definitely need more practice with it. But that's that force right there. And then let's move on to the troops. I've got 2 troop platoons in the whole thing. Each of them has a command squad with a Voxcaster and a sergeant. The Voxcaster helmet on this guy here is actually from the Baneblade model kit, and I decided to just, because I wanted my Voxcaster to have a little bit more of a unique look than all the standard guardsmen, so I gave him that one. And then it's got 2 company platoons, each with a Voxcaster and a autocannon heavy platform team. Those are basically my heavy supports. Like, this army is much better suited for, very much suited for the capture and hold bases, the strategic point missions where you have to hold on to a base, because I could just line them all up and you just have this wave of guardsmen that you have to get through. And then each of them is accompanied by a mobile unit, which is a platoon with a Chimera. This one here is called the Reliance, and it's got a Voxcaster and a Meltagun. And this Meltagun guy came from Forge World. One of my friends decided he wanted to buy this upgrade pack, and it came with 2 plasma gun, 2 plasma cannon, 2 plasma gun users, and 2 Meltagun users. And he's like, I don't need the Meltagun guys, you can have them. So I gratefully took them and put them in part of the army. And this guy here is one of my objective markers. I will be making a video later based on objective markers. But what this guy came from is the Death Corps of Crag Quartermaster and Retinue. And this was also something else another friend purchased. And he sat there and he was like, I don't need this guy. I can't think of any reason to use him. Here, you could have him, since your army has Death Corps of Crag in it too. You could probably think of some good use for him. And I decided to turn him into a little objective marker for my army, since he would fit the theme. And then over here we got the other troop platoon. There's the command squad with the Voxcaster and a sergeant who's got, I don't know what I was thinking when I made this pose, but he's got this really funky hand thing going. But I've just been too lazy to kind of fix that, so he's just standing there as is. I might put like a something over his hand so it looks like he's leaning on something so it doesn't look too weird, but that depends on how lazy I am later, since I am finished with the army practically now. And it's got two platoon troops, two platoon squads with Voxcaster and autocannon. There they are. And another mobile unit with a Chimera. This one's called the Invincible, and it's got a Voxcaster and another Forge World Melt-A-Gun upgrade kit. And another objective marker that I made using the Super Heavy Tank sprue and some guard bits left over. And then I've got my first heavy support, which is my artillery. It's two Basilisks and a Colossus. The Colossus was a conversion. And this guy here is called the Hammer. He's called the Engager. And he's called the Firestorm. They're each armed with hull-mounted heavy flamers. I went with heavy flamers because I figured these guys aren't going to be moving too much, but there's going to be probably some attempts to attack these guys. And I figured that they'd have a better chance if they had flamers, so they can do a much widespread and basically have a weapon that can auto-hit, and have a high chance of killing whatever opposition that gets in their way that's coming towards them. So that's why I went with that. And I also kind of went with this setup because because they're all barrage weapons. And since the Colossus ignores cover saves, he fires his shell first, ripping apart anybody in the cover save, and then the Earthshakers fire along its edge to try and take out any of the extra troops that are maybe sitting around it. So that's why I went with that type of setup. And they can all fire indirectly, which is great. And that's basically all there is for that guy. And then we move on to my Lehman Russ Battle Tanks Division squadron. It's armed with a Demolisher known as the Conquest. The Demolisher, Battle Tank. It's got the Battle Tank cannon, a hull-mounted heavy bolter, and two heavy bolter sponsons. Then there's a Punisher known as the Assassin, because this thing really mowed down a lot of troops in its first match. And it's armed with the Punisher cannon, two heavy bolter sponsons, and it's got a hull-mounted heavy bolter, but I ran out of heavy bolter hull mounts, so I just used the last cannon hull mount instead. So that's why that's like that. I'm waiting to get some bits so I can convert that up into a heavy bolter version. And then an Executioner known as the Devastator. And because this also was a pretty nasty little force, it took out a lot of troops in its first game. And it's armed with a hull-mounted heavy bolter, and two plasma cannon sponsons, and a plasma cannon, Executioner plasma cannon. And this thing is just really ridiculous, and I love it so because it's just very brutal. In the first game that I applied it in, it had my opponent on the ropes. I didn't win out in the end, but he just couldn't get rid of this thing, and it was causing a massive hindrance to my opponent's progression in achieving victory. And then I have my extras. These guys were made up for Apocalypse mode. This guy right here was a birthday present. It's called the Ertsevelis. It's an armored sentinel with an autocannon. I will eventually get this up into a full squadron because Sentinels can be pretty nice to have, especially in an apocalypse game. They can just be they can especially if you use them to outflank, they can just really provide some really nasty cover. I don't think the armored sentinels can do the outflanking, but still the armored sentinels are really nice to have to basically move up ahead with my 2 chimera units. So that's why I'm probably going to use those a lot when I get into apocalypse games. Then I've got 1 Baneblade, that's known as the Preemptory. It was the first super heavy I bought, and it's got the Twin Link Heavy Bolters, Lance Cannon, and Battle Cannon, Twin Link Heavy Bolter, and Demolisher Cannon on the front. So it's armed to the teeth and ready to go, and it's one of my favorite tank models because I just like its look, and I love how the turret came out. The turret is just one of my favorite pieces on this thing. And then I've got the Emperor's Will, which is a Hexblade, which I'm thinking of a new name for that later on because I don't want to steal Blue Table Painting's thunder. But for those who aren't aware, a Hexblade is basically took the model kit of the Stormlord Shadow Sword set and made it where it can turn into all 6 variants. So I can adapt my tank into any type of tank that I need depending on which kind of army I'm going up against, which is always nice to have, especially when you don't know what you'll be up against. It's always good to be able to switch around the tank to accommodate whatever needs you have, and then you don't have to proxy the model. You can officially actually have it be the model that you want it to be. And then of course I've got Helios, the Warhound Titan. I've done a whole video on him before on making him. He's armed with a turbo laser for anti-super heavy and anti-vehicle combat, and a plasma cannon mostly for anti-troop combat itself. And he's a beast. I've only used him in 1 game, but it was a pretty unfair match, so I really couldn't call it a real game. But it's there, and he is awesome, and I'm very happy with him. I'm still debating on if I'm going to put him on a stand. Like, I'm still nervous about that foot thing that his foot does, but he's still holding up, and I'm still debating on if I'll make him a stand, because if I make him a stand, I'm not sure how well it's going to hold up. It'd probably be better for him. If you guys think I should put him on a stand, leave a comment saying so. If you guys think I should leave him freestanding, leave a comment, you know. And, you know, maybe that'll help me decide what I want to do with them. But that's the whole army. It's not 100% done. I mean, like, I've got to add some writing to Helios's ankles. I got to matte finish everything. I've done 1 or 2 models, but I can't remember what they are, so I'm just going to matte finish the entire thing all over again. And thanks to Helios, I got a lot of these extra, like, skulls and parchments and purity seals that are very, you know, fitting. I'm going to take one of the Mechanicum skulls he comes with and put it on his forehead. And the other guys here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the purity seals to their bodies to give them this more Adaptus feeling to them. But all in all, tournament-wise, I'm ready to battle, and I can't wait for my first game with them. In terms of transport, I've got the Army Transport Division bag there. That holds everything but Helios, the Sentinel, and the 2 Super Heavies. The 2 Super Heavies I can probably get into the bag because I do have plenty of room, but Helios I'm going to have to get something else to transport him. And when I decide what I'm going to do with that, I'll make a video based on that. And that's really it. I'm sorry for the delay in getting this video up, but it's finally here, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.